Welcome to the program, everyone. We got some big news breaking on Leticia James I want to get to, as well as this one. It looks like Donald Trump is firing his first cabinet member, Mike Waltz, who was over at NSA, National Security Advisor, is reportedly out. This is over Signalgate. I have a lot to share with you on all of that, but we begin here on Leticia James. Leticia James in a lot of hot water. I mean, we knew this day was coming, right? It just took a little bit of due diligence. Somebody went back a lot of years to get all the goods on her, and sure enough, there's a lot of them. Okay, so they're filing now an ethics complaint against Leticia James. This is a big deal. This is America First Legal. Yes, it is a conservative group. Yes, it is Trump-leaning. Yes, Stephen Miller started it, okay? But it doesn't change the fact that they found some really interesting, important stuff. And now they're bringing this forward here to the state of New York, saying we need to have an ethics investigation. This is a big deal. This is an ethics complaint against her because what she is allegedly, possibly guilty of doing is actually really, really, really significant. I mean, really significant because, you know, you're the Attorney General. You can't actually be telling people that you live in one state and that that's your primary residence and getting the benefits of the mortgage in that state while you live in another. I mean, for goodness sakes, you were even thinking about running for governor at one point, weren't you, Letitia? I mean, that doesn't really work to be telling everybody that your primary residence is in one location when in fact you live in New York. So this is the new call right now to disbar Leticia James. They are asking for an ethics investigation, and I'm telling you guys, they're going to get it. Take a look here. You know, the part of this letter that they sent to the New York Bar Association shows that basically, this William Pulte found that, and has actually gone to one Pam Bondi and requested that Pam Bondi do an investigation as well. So, like, there's going to be investigations up the wazoo. They found that there was evidence that Ms. James had falsified some bank documents and property records. Oh, gosh darn it. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar to what she accused Donald Trump of doing? Because he inflated some square footage. Even though it was a private transaction, this is different. This is not a private transaction, right? She's benefiting from government-backed assistance, loans, and more favorable loan terms. While serving as the Attorney General for the state of New York, Ms. James purchased a home in Norfolk, Virginia, and in the process declared that she intended to, quote, occupy this property as my principal residence. I mean, think about it. She's the AG in the state of New York, and yet she's saying, oh, I'm going to occupy this property as my principal residence. This meant that she would have had to have been a full-time resident of Norfolk. Forgive me. The obvious reason for making this certification would be to obtain a lower interest rate on the mortgage loan. Additionally, on another occasion, Ms. James appears to have misrepresented the number of dwelling units in a multi-dwelling building that she owned. She continued to misrepresent the number of dwelling units in subsequent years to obtain additional benefits to which she was not entitled, they write, including a mortgage refinancing through a federally backed lender at a lower rate than what would have typically been offered in the private market. Okay, this is really bad. Like, her problems have just swollen to epic levels. She's come out and she's trying to diffuse it a little bit. I'm going to get to that. But the America First legal team is saying, you know, first of all, what Mr. Pulte is showing is, or alleging, I should say, is that one, there's the issue of the primary residence, right? She didn't live in Virginia, even though she was saying she lived in Virginia. She lived, in fact, in New York. And then they're also saying that she basically tried to falsify the number of dwelling units so that she could qualify for a certain federal housing program and benefit from that lower mortgage rate. It's really bad, guys. I mean, what do they say? Those that live in glass houses should not throw stones. It's kind of amazing because she was going after Trump for something that was actually far less, again, because it was a private transaction. But here they write, as the New York Rules of Professional Conduct states, a lawyer is an officer of the legal system who has a duty to uphold the law and promote the administration of justice. A lawyer should further the public's understanding, trust, and confidence in the rule of law and the justice system because in the constitutional democracy, legal institutions depend on the popular participation and support to maintain their authority. I mean, further, the legal profession is largely self-governing. So if you have a legal profession with people like Attorney General of New York, Leticia James, that are willing to engage in fraud, this is what is being alleged. And look, they got the documents to prove it. She's out there saying, oh, it's 4 units instead of 5. And she's saying my primary residence is in Norfolk, Virginia, instead of in the state of New York, where she's holding political office. I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up and says it all, don't you? I think this is going to be a serious problem. I mean, this is a massive issue for Letitia and actually should result in her being disbarred, because this is the kind of conduct that would get you disbarred. In all seriousness, I mean, they have something here. Fox outlined some of these allegations. Let me go to this just recently.
James tried to prosecute the now President Trump in his second term. I just want to read a couple things. Criminal referral, then a response from James's office here in New York. James, for both properties listed above, this deals with real estate now, going back decades, really, appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms, all right? Her office responded by saying the AG James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers. Specialist administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. The issue here is what property she owned and whether or not she owned it, whether or not she was married, and whether or not her father was involved in all this. Without going into the weeds of the details, this stems from a case in 1983 and the year 2000. That's a minimum of 25 years. Someone had to do some digging to find this. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Bill, the most I know about the case I just learned from you. I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it. You just told me more than I've heard about it so far.
Hey, we aim to please with some breaking news of our own. Indeed. All right. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
So Pam Bondi is pretty happy that they found this. And yes, it required some due diligence. And Letitia's going to say, oh, it's so political. It's so political. They're going after me because I went after him. Well, you better believe it, honey bunny. It is political. And you went after him. And like I said, those that live in glass houses should not throw stones. You had to have known that you did some illegal stuff yourself. And yet you were willing to go after him. She's trying to downplay this. Oh, this is no big deal. They're just going after me for political stuff. She is with Chris Hayes.
Respond to these baseless allegations at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way. But I am 100% confident that it will not result in any criminal indictment or action against me, and that it is nothing more than a revenge tour, and that Donald Trump just ultimately got to the J's, and I was next.
The key allegation, again, it sounds like you don't want to address them here, but I'm just going to put it out so people understand that a property that was owned in Virginia, and a mortgage that you signed, if I'm not mistaken, for that property, that they say you falsely represented yourself as a resident of Virginia, and that was essentially amounts to mortgage fraud since you're a resident of New York. What is your response to that?
It's baseless. Everybody knows I'm a resident of New York, specifically Brooklyn. And again, we will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate way to these baseless allegations. And some media outlets like the Daily News over the weekend has indicated as much.
Okay. Baseless allegations, really baseless. They're all just political because you went after him and therefore now he's going after you. You know, I remember when you thought that everything was just being reduced to politics, right? You tried to tell us that you didn't campaign against him. Oh, but it turned out you did, right? Because there's this little thing called the internet and we got the tape. We're going to roll it.
The President of the United States has complained that I'm engaging in some sort of political witch hunt, that I've got some personal vendetta against him, that I campaigned against him. That is not true.
This illegitimate president who sits in the White House. That president, because he's not my president, he's an illegitimate president. His days are numbered. His days are numbered. We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated. We will all rise up and resist this man. And ultimately,
absolutely no respect at all.
Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. And the days of Donald Trump are numbered.
Okay, I won't torture you guys with more, but you get the impression, right? She was extremely political despite saying, oh, this isn't politics. And by the way, I don't think that Trump would dispute that he's being political. I mean, he's like, you came for me, and well, it just so happens that some people may be coming for you, including Pam Bondi. But, you know, Pam Bondi has to. Like, you can't not act on this stuff, guys. When you're hearing, for example, that somebody was, you know, residing in one place and yet applying for a loan that would provide them with a better interest rate, courtesy of the federal government, because they said they were living in another place, that's a problem. Oh, and then there's the whole, you know, father on the original mortgage who was listed as a husband allegation. That just gets into, like, I don't know, Ilhan Omar territory. I'm sorry. But I think she's got it coming to her. I really do. I think she's scared. She's got it coming to her, and it can't happen fast enough, because I'm just going to tell you this. You know what? We can't have lawyers that are rabid political animals like Leticia James in the system, that are, by the way, abusing the system, allegedly, for their own benefit so that they can get better mortgage rates. And then they go out after Donald Trump. By the way, not even the Court of Appeals thinks she has a case. Remember when Judith Vale, representing Leticia James, got out there in front of the judges and said, before she got anything out of her mouth, got hit with a whole, we don't think you have a case here. I'm still waiting on them. Yeah. They should have kicked this thing out by now, but I think somebody's using it as leverage. Corruption, right? We need to root out this corruption. But anyway, let me take you back to the appellate court, where they basically told the lawyer representing Tish James she was high.
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Well, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Exactly. Okay. So, Letitia, good luck. Good luck with all that. I have a feeling you're going to be disbarred. I have a feeling the penalties could even be more severe than that. Another breaking story, breaking news we want to get to right now. Mike Waltz is out. This just coming to us, the report first coming from the Wall Street Journal, that Donald Trump is firing Mike Waltz, national security advisor over the entire Signalgate thing. Remember Signalgate? In which you had all of those people discussing war plans. Pete Hegseth has been tarred and feathered because he was sharing some of the information on what was going to be going down in terms of the schedule. It was a successful operation, but nonetheless, the fact that it was on Signal and a reporter was also mistakenly added to that Signal chat now has Donald Trump moving, and Mike Waltz is the first casualty in this. He tried to explain what happened to Laura Ingraham. She was perplexed. This is about a month ago, saying, how could this happen? How could you put the Atlantic reporter on the Signal chat? He took full responsibility. Let's watch.
Know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the
execute?
number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So your staffer did not put his contact information.
No,
but how did it end up in your
well, that's
phone?
what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, but that's a pretty big problem.
That is what. That's
numbers,
what we've got the best technical minds, right?
That's disturbing.
And that's where I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was
so
on the
the person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura, I take responsibility. I built the group.
Okay.
So but look, that's the part that we have to figure out, and that's the part that embarrassing, yes, but Pete and I are veterans. We know these operations. He has been an excellent Secretary of Defense, and this was an operation that it amazes me. I guess the Democrats were fine to leave all the sea lanes shut down. We're fine to have destroyers fired on dozens of times by this terrorist group, and fine to have Iran keep supplying them missiles. That was okay. The president takes decisive action. And now we're seeing some real success in taking down their air defenses, opening the sea lanes, taking out their leadership. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about this.
Now,
wow. Okay, so this is a big deal. He's going to be out. I can tell you that he had already ruffled a few feathers within the administration prior to this. Now, I realize the media has been going after Pete Hegseth, and they're really he has a target on his back. And we'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of most favored nation, right, within the White House itself, in terms of, if this is a popularity contest, I'm telling you, Pete Hegseth is winning that all day, whereas Mike Waltz had run into some issues, including with even his staffers, because it was seen within the White House that many of his staffers didn't really appeal to the MAGA base and weren't exactly sort of part of the president's priorities in terms of national security. Well, he's your national security advisor, so obviously you want people that are in line, shall we say. He was also somewhat ideologically out of step with Donald Trump vis-a-vis Ukraine, vis-a-vis Iran, and he clashed with a lot of people within the White House. And so all of this kind of was creating this bad blood atmosphere, and then you get this doozy, right? And I don't know, I have a lot of questions about how the heck this happened. How did the Goldberg from The Atlantic actually wind up on this? And they conducted an investigation. Apparently, in the investigation is suggesting that it really was just human error, and that Mike Waltz or his staff added Jeffrey Goldberg to the thing. So that's a little, again, you're lacking trust, right? If you already have some suspicions about the staff, if you already have some suspicions that Mike Waltz is not necessarily on board with you or is in sync with you on national security issues, then this is what is going to happen. So now there's talk of who's going to come in. We'll see. We can get to that chapter, I guess, in time, because this is actually just being reported. Donald Trump has made the decision to fire Mike Waltz. I'm not sure why he's not being afforded the opportunity to resign, but maybe they're trying to send a message here. This is a big deal. He's only been in office about 100 days. This is the first cabinet member to go. Of course, he did fire the NSA chief, but this was his pick. Mike Waltz was his pick, and he's abandoning his pick pretty soon into this. But again, as I say, if you've got a popularity contest going on, Mike was not going to win that. Pete Hegseth is somebody the president trusts. Pete Hegseth has been by his side for years, and he knows that Pete is loyal. He trusts Pete, and so when the media is coming for Pete, he's like, what are you talking about? This happened as recently as the interview he just did with ABC News, where the ABC News reporter, who was basically humiliated in the whole thing, it was actually kind of funny, we talked about that yesterday, went after Pete, remember?
One question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young. He's smart, highly educated. And I think he's going to be a very good hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in
I don't
Pete
have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
it's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Funny, no, that should have been the opportunity to get up and walk out and say, yeah, no, actually, we're not. Anyway, this is interesting in that, don't forget Laura Loomer, right? Laura Loomer went down to the White House a few weeks ago. She's kind of a conservative activist that's popular on Twitter. And she met with the president and she questioned the loyalty of some of the people around him. I don't know if Mike Waltz was one of the people that she was questioning. Entirely possible, because again, as I just told you, I think that within the White House circle, within the MAGA base circle, Mike Waltz was not seen as very much as in sync. He was kind of viewed as a little bit more of like a neocon type. And so it is entirely possible that she may have put something in his ear suggesting that Mike was not the loyal soldier that he needed. I don't think there's any doubt that Pete is absolutely loyal. So he doesn't worry about Pete in that sense. He may worry about him in just that, it's a big job for a young guy who was just on TV, a few weeks ago, and now suddenly you're running the Pentagon, and that's kind of a change of pace. But in terms of Waltz, there were questions about whether or not he was completely in step and in sync with what the president wanted. So you have to wonder if that's coming into play. And so he's a little less willing, shall we say, the president is, to forgive and forget when you do things that are going to be costly. I mean, it's one thing to add Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic, but what if he had added like somebody that could have actually jeopardized that entire operation? If I'm Pete and the president is talking to me, don't forget, they just had a meeting the other day. If I'm Pete and the president is talking to me about, you got to do better, you can't be on Signal, you can't be talking to your wife and your brother and this and that, and the media is going to come for you, Pete may have fired back with, well, Mike Waltz is the one who put Jeffrey Goldberg on this thing. And what kind of sort of mistake was that? Like, that was kind of a real no-go zone. So I think he's been losing status up until this moment. And you need to have somebody in place at national security that can actually do the job and that has the trust and backing of the President of the United States. Laura Loomer may have done some damage in that we know a bunch of NSC folks were ousted. These were some of the staffers that Mike Waltz had put in. Mike Waltz survived that round, but now he is gone. So major development. And it probably had to happen. Listen, it had to happen, right? Like if somebody screws up that badly, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and think, oh, maybe it was hacking, whatever. And I've talked about that. But they did the investigation and they're coming back to the reality that no, somebody just slipped up. And we can't tolerate that. So there you have it. Mike Waltz, done after 101 days, 102 days, is going to heat up in a massive way. So I want you to keep an eye on this story. This is that Jennifer Thurston. She temporarily blocked border control agents from making warrantless arrests of suspected illegal migrants without probable cause before a warrant is obtained. So she's saying if you want to go after them, you have to have a warrant. They're arguing back that that's not really something that's possible. It's not possible because guess what? Guess what? In many cases, they flee, right? You believe they're involved in a criminal activity. You don't have a warrant, and guess what? They're gone by the time you can get them. So it's all turning into kind of a really nasty legal battle as we discuss some of these legal issues. I got to tell you, we have much more to get to, and we will do more on the show tomorrow. I want to remind you, as we look at a market right now that is trading higher, we actually are up. This is the wrong lower third. They do fear a slowing economy, though. We can leave it there. 76research.com, the company I own and have created really for you guys because I want you to have the best in class access to financial research. I want you to go over there, check it out. There are a lot of fears right now, but I'm going to tell you, The fears are misguided. I think that we're righting the ship, so to speak. Bessent's out there doing deal after deal after deal. Donald Trump is very open to deals, so we're going to get a lot of tariff deals. I don't think the tariffs are going to be as painful as some in the left-wing media would like you to believe. So I stay optimistic in this environment. Go check out 76research.com today. Thank you for all being here. I know it's an earlier day. Leslie, I saw your comments there. We are here earlier, but you know what? I had to bring you that news on Mike Waltz. Cat Crazy, you made it as well. Mike Costa, wow, guys. Impressive. I didn't even give you much of a heads up. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk tomorrow.